Welcome back to a new video. Today I will be going through and doing my April reading wrap-up as well as updating the reading journal. Now I am still very new to reading journals, and so I'm still figuring out what I like, what I don't like. I didn't love the way I did the March one, so we're trying something a little different. We'll see how it goes. So I'm going to start off with putting together a cover page. I'm just using an old calendar spread. This is one of those free calendars that you sometimes get in the mail. This one I think is from a realtor, I don't know. And no, it is not actually the April picture, but I don't really care because it looks pretty. Adding some extra details, like the month, which could be very useful for future reference. And then I will also be adding in some stats. In the March one, I did this on a separate page, but I think it works pretty well on the cover page since it is such a small amount of information. It's just the TBR, where I started, where I ended, how many books I read, how many books I didn't finish, DNF'd, how many books I acquired, and how many books I destashed. And the acquisitions are a little higher this month because I bought some books, copies of books I have in digital format and physical format that aren't actually going on the TBR. So I started with 148 books on my TBR. I finished with 144. I read 11 books this month and DNF'd 2. You'll actually see I write 0 here, but I go back and fix this later. I bought 10 books. We're not going to talk about that. A lot of them were free, ones that I got through either Kindle Unlimited or actually for free for various book clubs or readings and whatever, that sort of a thing. And now I'm just going through and putting in the actual books that I read. This is just the titles, authors, and general rating. I go through and do a full review later. We start with Still the Sun by Charlie Ann Holmberg, then The Fellowship of the Ring by Tolkien. This is a reread for me. And then I go through and do One Night Under Her Spell, which by E.P. Van Gelder, because I can remember these details. That was actually an ARC read I got, which I still need to write the review for on the Amazon and whatnot. Oops. High Heels and Heifers by Stephanie Stradiotto. I'm so sorry about that name pronunciation, it's just wrong. And Leah Omer of Stars and Lightning by Melanie Marr, which is actually an Indie Ink Award review. I did Dragon Shift by Clarissa Gosling, which was a book club read for a book group I'm part of. Illusion of Stars by Sarah Marie Page, which I really loved. Betting on Good by Wendy Francis. This was one of those Amazon first reads things that they send out, the free book every month, which I really should stop reading those. They're not as good as they could be. Anyways, and then I read Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty. Again, sorry about the pronunciation. Gunner Craig Court by Tom Siddell, which is an actually graphic novel I've been reading as a webcomic for years. And then The Olympian Affair by Jim Butcher, which you'll see I forgot to actually write the rating in. Whoops. So now I'm going through, I am just doing kind of freehanding some squares. I think half of a page for a book is a pretty decent amount of space. It gives me some time for decoration, some time for review. Space. Tells you where my brain is these days. So this gives me enough space for reviewing without taking up an absolutely massive number of pages, because I read a lot in a year. So I did 11 of these, and now I'm just going through and adding in decoration for these. So Still the Sun by Charlie Ann Holmberg is a book following main character whose name I've already forgotten. That's not a good sign. Anyways, it follows this character. She is in a desert land, and she is a tinkerer who loves to tinker with the machines of the ancients. And when she is asked to help kind of rebuild a tower machine by some people who claim to be gods, then she goes and helps. But not everything is as it seems, and things go quite wrong. in a lot of different ways. I thought this book was quite inventive. I like all of her books for their unique world building. I think the romance was a bit meh. It didn't thrill me like some of her other books have done, but I still enjoyed it. My big complaint about the book, though, was that the ending was rather abrupt, and it didn't feel like it tied everything nicely together, as I have seen in her books before. I don't know, I like her writing, I like her world building, I think it's very interesting. I'll keep reading her books, at least until I run out of them, ones that I've already bought. So moving on to the Fellowship of the Ring. This was just a reread for me. I love Tolkien. I love his language, I love his writing, I love the story. He is the original, epic fantasy author for me. And I will just continue rereading these books over and over and over again. An easy 5 stars, always. So now we're moving on to One Night Under Her Spell. This is a cozy adjacent fantasy by E.P. Van Gelder, because I can pronounce things. It follows a witch who lives in the forest, and she accidentally curses a man into cat shape, and to reverse the curse she has to go talk with other witches in town, but they want her to seduce the king, and instead of the king, his knight shows up. This is sort of half epic fantasy, half cozy fantasy. It has events happening in epic scope, but it doesn't really feel like an epic fantasy. It also is a little bit too involved for a pure cozy fantasy. I think it was entertaining. I will say that the tropes kind of went a little overboard, and I liked it, but I didn't love it. I thought it was very interesting. I think there were some plot holes related to these tropes that perhaps didn't need to be there. But still, it was a good 3.5 stars. So this next one is High Heels and Heifers. This is a rom-com in the style of... Okay, not in the style of... well, sort of in the style of City Slickers, where a high-achieving executive, she goes to a dude ranch for a company retreat and sort of falls in love with the guide. There's all the tropes that you could possibly think of for this. The one horse, the grumpy sunshine, although she's the grump and he's the sunshine, and all of that sort of a thing. It was a cute rom-com. It was rather predictable, I will say, but I enjoyed it nonetheless. One does not necessarily read rom-coms for their ingenuity. So, moving on to the next book. This one was Of Stars and Lightning by Melanie Marr. And this I read for the Indie Ink Awards as a judge. This is one of the last 2 that I've had to read for this. And it was an epic romantasy, where you have the lost princess trope. She is living in a village, she doesn't know who she is, and then is found, and she then is taken back to the kingdom, or the main center of the kingdom, I guess, where people have magic, and there's treachery and politics, and the one person that she probably shouldn't trust, she does. I liked this book quite a bit. I think there were some plot holes that were very obviously left to be answered in a later book to make you keep reading, but I find that a little frustrating when authors do that. I thought it was a good book. I enjoyed it thoroughly. I don't know if I would read the next book in the series, but definitely worth reading once. That was a 3.5 stars for me. The next book I read was Dragon Shift by Clarissa Gosling. This one was for a book club in a group that I'm part of. It is a YA sort of coming-of-age fantasy adventure about a shifter in the bear clan who doesn't know if she's going to shift into a bear or the long-feared missing dragons. And so when she doesn't shift at all, she kind of gets sort of half exiled and goes on a journey to figure out where her dragon family is and who they are. And on the way she meets various friends and learns all about the various shifter clans, and she finds the dragons. And I think it's a very interesting book. I enjoyed the adventure part of it. I will say that the prose was more travelogue-y than I usually enjoy. I prefer less narrative description and more dialogue, but it's purely a stylistic thing. It was very well written for what it was. It's just a personal preference. I'm not hugely fond of overly narrative descriptive books. Anyways, a good solid 3.5 stars. So now I'm reading Illusion of Stars, and this book is by far the standout book of the month for me. It was absolutely stunning. This is another Indie Ink Awards read, by Sarah Marie Page. Sorry, I forgot to mention that. And so it is another epic romantasy. A young healer apprentice is sent to go sort of spy on a group of people who may be using her country as a platform to invade another country, and she discovers there that things are not as they seem, both with them and with her own home country. The prose in this is just really poetic. I really enjoyed it quite a lot, and I absolutely would recommend it. I am eagerly awaiting the next book, but it's not out yet, so this will be another one of those books that I have to buy in physical copy after having read it digitally, just because I need to have it on my shelf. It is that good. Absolutely love it. Oh, also my pen died, so that's why you see me switch pens here. I switch back to a different fountain pen in just a minute. So the next book was Betting I'm Good by Wendy Francis. This is that Amazon first reads pick. It's more chick lit than romance, I think, because there's a fair amount of drama. These two couples go down to the Kentucky Derby for a birthday weekend, and there's secrets between them, and one has a gambling addiction and one is in love with the other person's wife, and it's a whole thing. The prose was good enough to keep me reading, as well as the description of the Kentucky Derby, which I've never been to. I thought that was very interesting, but it uses my absolute least favorite trope, which is the miscommunication trope. I mean, there was plenty of communication, but not with the people that actually needed to hear it. So I hate that trope a lot. This barely scraped a 3 stars for me. The only reason it got 3 stars was I finished it. Anything DNF'd is either 2 stars or 1 star if I don't even get through the first chapter. So yeah, this was not a good book for me. I mean, good enough, but not worth rereading. So the next book is Kingdom of Copper by S.A. Chakraborty. This is the second book in the David Bode trilogy. I really liked the first book, but I had completely forgotten everything in it by the time I got around to reading this one, because it's been about a year. So it took me a minute to remember what was happening. But once I did, the world building on this is just so marvelously detailed, and the writing is immersive without being overwhelming. And I love the characters, I love all the events. It's very, very, very good read. One of those absolutely epic in scale reads that I really need to read the next book before I forget what happens in this one. I'm working on it. I have a hard time reading series in order in any great speed. It's just, Anyways, moving on. So the next book I read was The Gunner Creek Court Volume 2. I have been reading this comic as a webcomic for years now, and I absolutely love these books. The art is so fun, and the world is very inventive. It's sort of a science fantasy about this school, the Gunner Creek Court, and the students who go there, and their various encounters with robots and magical creatures and that sort of a thing. And I love it. You can read it for free online, or you can buy it physical copy. It's a really good comic. The last book I read was Jim Butcher's The Olympian Affair. This is the second book in the Cinter Spires series. It is a steampunk world, and honestly, I really need more steampunk books in my life. I love the adventure and the blend of technology and, well, what has to be described as magic. I mean, it's just really fun. This book was long awaited, apparently. I only read the first book a few months ago, so it wasn't that long ago for me, but I really enjoyed it. Definitely an epic adventure for anyone who loves steampunk. So that was all I read for this month. Now I'm going to go back and fill in some of the overarching stats for things. This is my book bingo. I don't know why I'm doing this. I'm going to read the books regardless of whether they fit into a bingo square or not. But, some of these were written by 2 authors or read for a book club, recommended to me based on cover, continuing a series, that sort of a thing. Excuse me. It's fun to color in the books. I think that's 90% of why I do the book bingo, is because I like coloring in the books. Well. Okay, figuring out the standout book for me was easy. It was Illusion of Stars, but the book bracket, The Reign of Ruin, that I read last month, I really loved, and so I had the hardest time deciding between the two. I would absolutely choose them both if I could, but you have to pick one, so I just went with Illusion of Stars because I read that most recently. Whoops. And here, filling in the numbered of title book challenge, which I realized after I did this that I could have used Kingdom of Copper for the letter K, but I forgot, so whoops, oh well. And then just filling in the books for number of books that I read. I am a little behind on my goal for 200 books this year. I don't really mind that much. So again, I read 11 books this month with 12 authors because High Heels and Heifers had a co-author situation, and Illusion of Stars was absolutely my standout book. So I think I like this format for my book journal a bit more, and I'll try it again next month. Do you see anything here that you would like to read, or do you have any recommendations? Let me know.